All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the Dolphins-Cardinals game. We'll also talk about Tua as he made his return to the field after the concussion for the first time since week 2 against the Buffalo Bills, right? I think it was week 2. And look, the Dolphins looked like a different team offensively. And it really did show you. Yeah, it was week 2. It really does show you. And I know some people may, have their criticisms when it comes to Tua, and believe me, I'm one of those people. But you really did see how much the Dolphins really needed him when he went down, because they couldn't move the ball. They couldn't put up points. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were they didn't do anything while he was out. And, from Skylar Thompson to Tyler Huntley, and you had Tim Boyle play a little bit, the Dolphins needed him back. And he came back, and, you look at his numbers, and, I'm not going to say he was spectacular, but you know what? He wasn't bad. He was not bad from what we see here. And again, not like he put up monster numbers, but, compared to what the Dolphins were getting, you'll take it. But the problem is the Dolphins still ended up losing the game. 28-27, they lose to the Cardinals. They were up 20-10 in the third quarter. And, at that point you're thinking, they're going to win this game, right? They got to. Cardinals are coming a long way, out west, making a cross-country trip over here. You thought, they should get this win, but they didn't. They got the ball to start off the game, and they went right down the field. There was actually a fumble on this drive, but the Dolphins ended up recovering it. Tua ended up losing the ball. Then there was another fumble, but again, Dolphins were able to retain possession. And then Raheem Mostert scores from 1 yard out. So 7-0 Dolphins, and you thought, all right, here we go. Dolphins are back. Then the Cardinals punted, and then it was 10-0. It was 10-0. Dolphins scored on their first 2 drives, and, Dolphins fans had to be really happy. 53-yarder by Jason Sanders. But then the Cardinals put together a drive. They went 9 plays, 70 yards, and that led to a Kyler Murray to Michael Wilson touchdown from 6 yards out, so that made it 10-7. Both teams punted, and the Dolphins got more points before the end of the half, a 25-yard field goal by Jason Sanders. So, yeah, that made it 13-7 at the half. Cardinals then opened up the half with a field goal, a 57-yarder by Ryland. So that made it 13-10. Dolphins then scored a touchdown, and that made it 20-10. Tua connected with Devon Achane for a 12-yard touchdown. But so, yeah, at that point you thought Dolphins should win this game. Cardinals punted. However, there was a fumble on the drive by the Dolphins, and that led to a safety, so that made it 20-12. And then the Cardinals scored, getting the ball. So, and Kyler connected with Marvin Harrison Jr. for a 22-yard touchdown. They went for 2. They did not get it. So it was a 2-point game. Then the Dolphins went up by 9. It was 27-18. Raheem Mostert scored his second rushing touchdown of the game. So that made it 27-18. Then the Cardinals scored again, and that was a James Conner touchdown. So that made it 27-25. Dolphins then punted, and then the Cardinals won at the buzzer. Chad Ryland, a 34-yard field goal to win the game, and the Cardinals pull off the upset, if you even want to call it that, 28-27. And yeah, it was kind of it was surprising. You kind of thought the Dolphins had it, but they just didn't. And Kyler Murray had a good game, 26-36, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Cardinals didn't run the ball great. James Conner only had 53 yards on the ground in the touchdown. Kyler only had 19. Trey McBride, underrated tight end, 9 receptions for 124 yards. He was their leading receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 receptions for 111 yards and a touchdown. Michael Wilson, 5 for 31 in the touchdown. Cardinals defense only had a sack in this game. And then on the other side, you see Tua's stats here was not bad, 28 of 38, 234 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Was only sacked once. The Dolphins ran the ball for 150 yards. They had 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 by Mostert. Achane had 97 yards on the ground. Mostert only had 19. Jalen Wright, their rookie running back, he had 18 yards on the ground. Tyreek Hill, 6 receptions for 72 yards, was still kind of held in check. But he's going to have a game where he goes off at some point. You will see that again. Devon Achane, 6 for 50 and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 45. Jonnu Smith had 4 for 20. Dolphins defense, no sacks in this game off of Kyler. But, yeah, now they dropped to 2-5. You win this game, 3-4 looks a lot, well, and you're probably saying, yeah, obviously. Yeah, 3-4 looks a lot better than 2-5. 2-5, I mean, by no means are the Dolphins just out of it completely. But, I mean, looking at their schedule right now, as I love to look at team schedules, they got the Bills coming up. Then you got the Rams. Raiders and Patriots in between, a tough stretch there, so they should win those games. Then you got the Packers, the Jets at home, the Texans, the Niners, the Browns, and then the Jets again. I mean, the Jet games you should win both, the way the Jets are playing. But, then again, the Dolphins aren't playing great either. So, but yeah, it's not looking good right now. And you're playing the Bills this week, and that's a team that you struggle with. And now this game is in Buffalo. And the way the Bills have been playing as of late, yeah, I don't really like their chances in that game. The Bills have been playing some good football. I know they beat up on the Titans. They beat up on the Seahawks in Seattle, which is a tough place to play. But they own the Dolphins. So, Dolphins could be 2-6. They definitely could be. But we'll see. And then they got the Rams after that. And the Rams look like a completely different team now with Cooper Kupp back, with Puka Nacua back. The Rams are going to get their guys on the offensive line back as well. Dolphins got to start winning games. Tua's back now. Now there should be no excuses. But, the defense has got to play better. And you got to get your playmakers more involved. But this is just his first game back. And the AFC, the AFC is a little bit different than the NFC. I feel like there definitely is still a pathway, for the Dolphins to, get back in this thing and maybe make a run at the playoffs. But, they got to start winning football games. That's the bottom line. And right now they are 2-5, and they're looking up at a lot of teams. So, but I do want to talk about the Cardinals though. So the Cardinals are just such a weird team. And they've won 3 of their last 4 games. They're 4-4 right now. Believe it or not, they are actually in first place in the NFC West. Now, they're tied with the Niners and the Seahawks at 4-4, but technically they got the tiebreakers over those teams. And the Rams are 3-4. It's going to be interesting how this NFC West shapes out. But, give credit to Kyler Murray and that team. This is why people had them, being a sneaky team this year and potentially making the playoffs. Because they have talent on this team. Now, they still got a lot of work to do with this roster. They got to continue to improve this defense. And I think, this is another team that I think, maybe in the draft they go and try to get a receiver. That's just one thing I would say. But I like the direction the Cardinals are going in. I think a lot of people, though, they have, their questions when it comes to Kyler. I think Kyler is a good quarterback, but can they win with Kyler Murray is the question. Can they get to the playoffs and can Kyler take them on a run? That's something that, I think still remains to be seen. We only got one glimpse of him in the playoffs, and it was horrendous against the Rams the year they won the Super Bowl. So that's a question that still needs to be answered, and maybe it's never answered. But he is the guy for the Cardinals right now, and you see what he can do. The talent is there, but in a big spot, can he deliver? And you know what? Look, they were down on the road on the East Coast, and they came back. You know, the Dolphins are a different team than they were, last week when you had, Tyler Huntley playing. Now you got Tua, so it was going to be a tough game. But you know what? Give them credit. They won the game. They won the game. They've beaten the 49ers on the road, and the 49ers have had issues, but you know what? Give them credit there. They won that game, and, they beat a good Chargers defense at home. Give them credit. I'm trying to see what were their other wins. So, yeah, they beat the Dolphins. They beat the Chargers. They beat the 49ers. Then they beat the banged-up Rams team. But, against the Lions, they only lost by 7. They struggled in that game. And then you know what? You could make the argument they should have beaten the Bills in week 1. They had that game, and then Josh Allen and the Bills came roaring back. So, but yeah, they're 4-4, and they got a shot. There are a lot of teams in the NFC that have a chance to make the wild card. And you would have thought it was like the reverse. You thought the AFC was going to be the conference that they'd be battling it out, but that's just not the case. Okay. Yeah, we've been having issues with with stuff going on in the house. So we just we got that squared away. So that was my dad telling me that. I kind of wish he waited till after the show to tell me that, but that's okay. That's all right. That's at least one good thing that we've gotten taken care of. Because we were dealing with had a crazy few days. We had a bee infestation, and then we also had our pipes being clogged, and those have been taken care of. But in between all that, we also had the World Series last night, and yeah, that was rough. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'll be honest. I didn't even want to do the show today after last night, but you know what? You have to. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, I can't do this, but yeah, it just that's the kind of mood that I was put in after last night. So, and I'm sure during the production meeting it'll be discussed. But anyways, now I kind of just went off on a tangent there. But yeah, so that's what's been going on in my house at the moment. But yeah, so yeah. But the Cardinals, they pick up a win. Go to 4-4. Dolphins, I mean, they got to bounce back somehow, right? So we'll see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game. How did you think Tua played? Let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our next break of the show. And then when we come back, we will talk about the Eagles and their win over the Bengals, winning 37-17. We'll get into that when we return. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.